Hi everybody, Gisele Grenier here from artplace.ca. So for today's workshop, I've got a bonus for you. We're going to do 4 backgrounds. And these backgrounds, they're fairly easy, but you can be so creative with them and you'll never get the same background again. So the supplies are fairly simple, so you obviously need your journal. And what I did is I ran out of masking tape, so I just put the no stick paper underneath each spread. And because there's drying time involved, I'll do these 2, then I'll do the next 2. And oh, I'm gonna reach over. Baby wipes. Yeah, I finally buckled down about some. So being in Canada, we have what's called President's Choice, and up here, I don't know if it's the same in the States, but like if we have a grocery store, they have the brand names, they have their own budget version, and then they have a premium version. So with the Loblaws groups of company, you've got like the yellow label, which is like is called No Frill, and then you've got President's Choice. President's Choice is their own premium brand, and I thought I'd try out these wipes. Now I usually use Huggies wipes. The Pampers wipe I unfortunately don't like. The Huggies I really like, but when I went to buy them, they didn't have any. But then I saw these, and they were in a big package. The price was unreal, so I thought, okay, I'll try them. What's the worst that can happen? You know, I can use them to wipe my hands because they're called all-over wipes. You can use them to wipe your face. Then when I opened up the big package, they have their own little dispenser, which is kind of cool. And so, and they're actually not bad. They're not soaking wet, which is what I don't like, but they're nice and damp. So I'm going to try these. But 3 packages like this was only $6.29, I think. So baby wipes, good paper towel, not the really cheap stuff, but nice paper towel. And I like this one because it's got the texture in it. Okay. Brushes. Now, doing something a bit different. So I've got a Langnickel large area artist brush. This is the goat hair one. Okay, it's a 2-inch. Then I've got my trusty Royal Soft Grip 3/4 inch flat wash. Then I've got a it's like a flow brush, aqua flow brush. And what it is that it's an actual brush, but you fill this with water. So you take the cap off and you fill this with water. And then these are amazing when you're drawing or painting outside, but these are really cool because you could do with watercolor pencil, then just come back in because it's already, the water's in there. So we're gonna do something with that. Haven't talked about what we're going to do yet, but I'm going to go over the supplies. So I'm going to do 2 paints for each background. So the first one is going to be with Glamour Dust, Emerald, Lemon Drop. Oh my goodness. Then we're going to do Americana Multi-Surface Satin, Turf Green, and Chartreuse. Then we're going to do the DecoArt Traditions, Naphthol Red, and Dazzling Metallic Splendid Gold. And then Americana Cinnamon Drop and Banana Cream. See a pattern here? Glamour Dust Paint, the Multi-Surface Satins, Americana. This is the really good quality craft paint from DecoArt. This is what I use for my professional art. This is what I should use for journaling, but I use this because it's got the single pigments and the pigment names are on there, so it's easier to color mix. So then we've got the Traditions with the Dazzling Metallics. What we're going to do is a water resist. So you saw way in the beginning, we did a resist with alcohol. Now we're going to do it with water, but we're going to I'm going to do it a bit differently because we're going to embed texture in with the paper towel. So what I'm trying to do is one set of background, then I build on top, let's say combining 2 techniques. So with one of them, we're going to actually try with the background, and then another technique is to add texture. We're going to lay down yellow first. So the Chartreuse, Lemon Drop, Splendid Gold, Banana Cream on their own page. We're going to let that dry. That's the first thing we're going to do. Okay, so for that we really only need our 3/4 inch. And I've got my brush bucket over here. Okay, just going to dampen it. Oh, let's start. Well, might as well just work this way. Now you can put it on a palette first, but I'm just gonna go right onto the paper. And this is, you're just painting this on. You don't have to have it as a perfectly smooth gradation or flat finish or complete finish. You can have some texture in there. What I mean by texture is this type of stuff. That's up to you. So this part is pretty easy. There you go. And as it starts to dry, I'm just kind of going back over, and what you're doing is you're getting a overlapping. Now what I can also do is take my heat gun, dry a certain area, then take the paint and come back over it to get multiple texture layers, like up here. Okay, come in here, then come back. Let it dry a bit, bring some paint, come back. So you're getting all this beautiful, and the timing is really important on this, because if you don't let the area dry enough, you'll just pull up the paint. Oh, I've got my V8 right there. Oh, it's gonna get warm. I love this type of rough texture. And as it starts to dry, I'll just kind of really make it rough looking. See here? It wasn't quite dry enough and it pulled up. Okay, put this brush in water. Now let's fully dry it. Okay, we'll leave that aside. So, oops. There's a glare because it's metallic, see? Not neat? All that rough look, but this here, it's because it wasn't quite dry yet. And it's just kind of bumpled up. That's fine. So I'm just going to rinse that brush. Okay. Now that was the Dazzling Metallic Splendid Gold. And you can do this with any color, but you want a light color first, then we're going to work with a dark color. Now this one is Banana Cream. This is pretty much opaque. Beautiful, very, very soft yellow. This one's going to put this on. This is very pretty. Yeah, this part here, yeah, I know it's kind of boring, but you got to start somewhere, don't you? You notice the paper, very little curl on the paper, because we're putting, other than the moisture in the brush, it's pure paint. With the Traditions, this is a little bit harder because the paints are thicker, so you have to add water. And I believe Banana Cream, yeah, it is. This is a new color from Deco Art. And just need to add, I'm not going to add water to spread it out because the paper will really curl. I'm just going to add a little bit more paint. And I apologize for the clinging and clanging. My microphone keeps getting caught. There we go. And I'm already getting some ideas for the actual journaling page, which we're going to do in the decorating section in the next sets of videos. Okay, I'm going to put that in the water. Now this has to dry, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get my heat gun, dry it, and I'll do that off camera so we're not wasting time. And then we're going to flip the pages over, and then we're going to work with the next set of colors. Okay, it's all dry now. Okay, see? So I'm going to get some wax paper. And the wax paper is just more of a safety net where in case something didn't quite dry, it won't stick. Now the metallic paint may stick a little bit, but the, oops, see, here it's a little bit wet. Okay, but putting it on wax paper, it'll be fine. The Americana paint pages won't stick because it's a matte finish. And this doesn't really matter, but I'll put that under there anyways. Okay, so I have to make sure I get these right. So Splendid Gold was here, that was there. Now we're going to work with Lemon Drop. So I'm going to change my brush now to something a little bit softer. We're going to work with a fusion brush because this is a paint that's ultra fine glitter paint. Okay, then the multi-surface satin. You really have to shake up the glitter paint, the glamour dust paint, because it's so fine. And I'm just going to dip my fusion brush. The fusion brush is a much softer brush. Just dampen it and get rid of as much water as you can. Very soft. If I use a brush that's too hard, I'm going to have these massive strokes, brush strokes. And when it comes to this type of paint, this the glitter paint, the dust paint. This is not glitter. The dust paint. You do want to try to get a fine finish on it. And think of it like glue with the binder, the glue, with dust, this sparkly dust. I've got way too much on here. Way too much on here. So what am I going to do? I'm going to put it back because I know. Okay, there it is. Because I know that I'll be using this quite a bit. So, but if you've got water in your brush, I try not to put, like if the brush has been in regular tap water, I try not to put that back in the bottle because of plain water has, I don't want to say contaminants, but it's been in the bucket, my brush bucket and stuff like that. Distilled water would be fine, but still it's in my brush bucket. There we go. No waste. What I really would have done was go over to a journal page and would have like one of my other books and just use up the leftover stuff on that. Just trying to save some time right now. Okay. This is beautiful. And this you can put on as many layers as you want. Just use a soft brush. And then clean it really well. You don't want the dust drying out in your brush. Look how beautiful that is. So soft. Now, if your brush is too hard, what you'll end up with, you won't get a full finish. And this fusion brush is really nice because it is a very, very soft brush, but I still have good control. See? Okay, that's going to go into some water and we'll let that dry. And then the next one is the Americana Multi-Surface Satin Chartreuse. I always laugh at that name. I don't know why. There's nothing wrong with it. Ugh, splatter. And that I can use my soft grip brush. Like if you've got the glamour dust, use whatever brush you have handy. To me, it's whatever makes a job easy. I already know what I'm going to base this journal page on when it comes to the decorating part, the journaling part, the painting part. I'm terrified of bright colors. Neon scares me. So do clowns. Maybe I'll journal about that. There we go. So we basically, and you can now, and the actual, once the technique is done, like done, when we start doing the other layers, those layers you can do as many times as you want, just altering. And then I'll talk to you a little bit about color mixing, actual color mixing versus optical color mixing, which happens anytime you do layers. Now this multi-surface satin is a bit overkill for what I'm doing because we're just working on paper, but you can use a multi-surface satin on glass, on wood, on anything, multi-surface, so whatever you want. What I like about using, one of the things I like about this paint is that because it's multi-surface is that I can paint over an existing journal page that already has some collage or some decoupage on it, and it's going to stick. And it doesn't, you don't need any pre-sealer or anything. And the varnish, it's the you use Duraclear varnish, which is fine. Look at that beautiful, that coat, that's beautiful, eh? When doing an actual painting a piece or something, you would use 2 coats for optimal coverage. Look at that, isn't that beautiful? Brush in the water. Heat gun to dry. Now the multi-surface satin does take a little bit longer to dry because it's so nice and creamy, nice and thick. The Glamour Dust does not take long, but look at that nice shine to it. Every time I think of the Glamour Dust, I think of pixie dust. Okay, so then I'll do this rest on off camera. When this is dry, we'll go back to the first 2 sets of pages, and we'll start doing the first layer. And then what you'll need is basically a contrasting color, which is why I chose the other mixes, the other paints. So to the lemon drop, I'm going to use emerald. To the chartreuse, try to get it in the right order. Right order of metallic. Lemon drop, banana cream. Was this first? This was the first one, Splendid Gold, so I'm going to layer with Naphthol Red. And the second one is Banana Cream. I'm going to layer with Cinnamon Drop. Then I did the first layer with Lemon Drop. And then I'm going to do my layer with Emerald. Then this one is Chartreuse Base with Turf Green layer. I got myself totally confused there. Sorry about that. Okay, so but you want a contrasting color, and preferably one that's next to itself on the color wheel. Because if you were to do this with a green, your layer would be kind of dull. So a yellow next to a green, or a green next to a blue, or even a yellow and blue are fine. Blue and violet, or blue and red, red and orange, or red and yellow, or even red and violet. So on the color wheel, the colors that are next to each other, but not across from each other, because then the colors will be dull. Okay, so I'm going to let this dry, and I'll be back in a couple of minutes. Okay, so we're all dry. Now what we need to do is a little bit of prep work first. I'm going to put these little bottles ahead of me. So let's see, I got to get this right. So first it was this one, then it was this one, then this one, then this one. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to get out, let's see, 4 sheets of paper towel. Well, we don't need 4 sheets right now, but let's get a few sheets of paper towel already pulled apart. Drying time is very important in this, is that you have to get it just at the right spot. Okay, so I've got some paper towel, the baby wipes at the ready. I've got a large wash brush, I've got my brush bucket, and I've got my other brushes which have been sitting in the water. Well, not sitting in the water, we're just rinsing them out. Okay, so those are good to go. And all I'm doing is I'm just kind of putting them like this, so that way they can be really wet and the paint won't dry out. Alright. So now, this is actually quite messy. Let me just move my no stick mat over. So what we're going to do now, we're going to put a wash of color over this. Okay, and the key is it has to be a wet wash. And then what we're going to do is we're going to drip some water on there. Then we're going to take a paper towel, put it on top, pull it up, and what should happen is where we splash the water, those spots should come up, and then you can take a baby wipe and further distress it. Okay, so we have our water, and where's my water? Where's that little Aquaflow brush? Because we're going to do something else with that one. Just trying to get myself organized properly here. You should be able to see that. Okay, so Naphthol Red first. You can also do this with the Traditions with the watercolor medium. That'll work as well. Wet, wet, wet. Now, ideally, you should have a brush for each color if you're in a hurry, and I am because I only have so much time on camera. So I'm going to do the first one with this, then I'll rinse it, then I'll do the other one here. Then we go to the other spread, I'll just get a different brush. Any large brush will work. The paint's got to be really wet, and it's always a hit and miss with this, because if you don't get it at the right time, it doesn't work. If it's too wet, the paint will just kind of just sit there, and everything will come up when you put the paper towel. But if it's too dry, then nothing will come up. Okay. Alright, then you kind of count, maybe 30 seconds. Let it kind of do its thing. Then you can take your hands and you can drop some water on there. Okay. Now put the paper towel on top and press. Now see what I mean? If it's too wet, it's going to pick up everything. But this is where the water drops were. You got one down here as well. See? And these you can reuse in journaling pages. So with this, what I found is that the paint didn't stick as well, and that's because it's the metallic paint. But that's, look at that design. Isn't that kind of cool? That's because that was my hands. These patterns are my fingers. That's really kind of cool. I like that. Let me do something else. See, as I'm getting ideas, let's quickly dry this, and it will dry fairly quickly. Just kind of tilting the paper so I can see where it's shiny. There's a big water splotch there. I think the paint was just a little too wet, so let's try it again. But I'm not going to wipe this off because I like that look. So I'm going to grab a bit more paint. Ooh, this is much thicker. Yeah, this is much thicker. Let's try it this way. Okay. And this time, let's get the water brush. And I'll just... Okay. Now these paper towels that I use, just put them aside to dry somewhere. You can use them in something else. Ideally, what should only come through is where the water drops were. There we go. And I can go back over that. I'll take a clean part, go to the top to do the top part. And I'll just press back down here. Now, oh, the texture worked. Yay! Look at this, the texture of the paper towel. Now, what you can also do from this is take a baby wipe. Oh, I spilled some water on here. Take a baby wipe, put it on top, press your hand. Just really press really, really hard. Okay, and you should have some of your handprint transferred over. You can also take your baby wipe. As this is dry, let's dry this a little bit more first. And then you can distress the page. So what you want it to do is you want it to be just dry. Not where it sat for hours and hours drying. You want it to be just freshly dried. Especially over metallic paint. Let me just tilt this. Especially over metallic paint, the distressing works really well. Let me just wipe the water off here. And I can take this and I can just, where the metallic parts are, I can just rub just a little bit more. Rotate the towel. And if I want to do like a corner, I can just rub over the corner. Just makes it a little bit stronger. Same thing on these edges here. I could just go on the edge. Okay, you can get just the edges done. can also just wipe like this. Okay. Try not to get a solid line going though, like all the way across. You can let it dry and then you can do it again. Okay, so that's that one. Now this one here, we're going to do the same thing, except we're going to use a different color, or a different, the next matching color. I got red paint on here. This I have to be careful with. Okay. The next color is Cinnamon Drop, and I can use the same brush. Now the Americana paint is already a bit thinner in consistency than the Traditions paints, so I don't need that much moisture. Now you'll find that this has a different effect because it's actually paint underneath, not metallic. Now I'm going to put my brush in water. Now I'm going to take my dryer and I'm just going to slightly dry this a little bit more. Oops, sorry about that. The heat gun hit the microphone. Just be careful. You don't want it to dry too much. I'm kind of looking at it on its side. What I want to try to get is I want to try to get some nice texture. Now, typically I wouldn't do the same type of page side by side, but I'm going to be taking these out eventually, maybe. And get the water brush. Now I'm going to see if I can get a pattern going. Now the paper's curled. The paper's got a curl in it. So some of the water's running. I'm going to have to get 2 paper towels on this. So I'm going to go into an angle like that, and like that. And I don't want a definitive handprint on there, but I have the paper towels going in 2 different directions. So let's see. And don't rub, like don't move the paper towel this way. You want to press down. So basically this is what should be removed, what you're seeing here. Ah, look at that, isn't that cool? Now I wonder if we can just put do a little bit more. And sometimes you have to let it sit if the page is dried too much. Yeah, see that one didn't come out. So what happens if we rub? Nope, not with that. Let's try baby wipe. It's coming out just a little bit. Yeah, so this is really, this though, it's coming out quite a bit. So once it's dried, like totally dried, then you can't do much more than that. Yeah, see that's really dry because that's where I had the heat gun on it. There we go. That looks like worms. I can see a page here by people's heads upside down peeking into. Here's a person here, I don't know if you can see their face, and this is their torso. A person here, a monster here. Person peeking up, 2 people peeking up. So there's something happening here. And I can just take the baby wipe then, I can just pick some areas that I want to distress. Just make sure you keep turning your baby wipe over so you're getting a fresh side. You don't want to just keep going with the pink because you're just going to make the area pink and you're not going to remove anything. A hand. And you can basically do this as much as you want. There we go. Voila. All right, so let me just dry this because now we have to flip the page over. We have to flip the page over. Okay, let's see. We have that one, and we have that one. And where's that paper? So I'm going to take that paper, put that here, flip this over. See that? See that? And this is anything that's got a glossy finish on it, it's going to stick. I got a little bit of pink. A little bit of pink came through. So now I want to remove the paint from the non-stick craft mat as much as possible, because now we're working with green. You don't want to get red and green mixed together. It's reaching to my garbage can. There we go. Okay. That takes care of that one. Now this, I don't know if this is going to work because I've never done this technique with the glamour dust. So let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Oh, this is really opaque. Okay. No, I don't know. I don't know if this one's going to work. No, not opaque, thin. Jeepers creepers. Yeah, the contrast may not be enough. It may not be enough. We'll see. We'll see. This looks more blue. Yeah, I don't think this is going to work. No, I don't think that's going to work. Well, let's try. Let's just put one on here. Try to absorb everything you can. A little bit. If you can see that, anything shiny is really hard to see on camera. Yeah, it worked a little bit. See here? It's actually not bad. It's actually not bad. This turned out a little bit better than I expected. There you go. Now you can see it. The contrast wasn't strong enough. Okay, I'm going to rinse that brush. Now I'm going to use the other brush now for this page. Now I also have never done this technique with this paint either, because the multi-surface satins are new to deco art. Get paper towels ready and use this brush. I'm going to have to make this fairly wet. You can do these layers as many times as you want. This one I want to get texture, so I'm going to make sure I have make sure I have all the paint on there. And I don't care about even distribution, because when I put the paper towel on top, I'm going to really push it to get this the pattern. You could also put a stencil on this as well. Okay, I'm going to hold this high. Oh, I don't know if this is going to work because I don't see any repelling taking place. Let that sit. Okay. I want the texture to go this way. Oops. lay it on top, and lay it on top. I don't know. I don't know. If I actually, do I have my brayer handy? Yeah, I do. I could push. You gotta be careful when doing this as well, because you don't want to smush the paint. Yeah, it did work, but look at the line I got here. So, take my baby wipe, and I'm just gonna pad over that line, and then you won't be able to see it. How's that? That actually turned out, well, that's intense. I love that. Love that. Okay, so let's wipe this down. Okay, put that away. Now I'm going to just dry these pages and then we'll flip through them and see what we have. Okay, so this is all dry now. And it's not, well, not 100% dry. There's a little bit of curl in here, so it's just inside the paper. So we've got the first one. So this was done with the Dazzling Metallics Splendid Gold based. Then when that was dry, Traditions Naphthol Red over the whole thing. Okay, splashes of water, paper towel on top, take it off. And it was too wet, so I went back over it with the Naphthol Red again, less water. And I actually let it dry for a little bit, splashed the water, and it went on top. That turned out. Then I actually put my handprint with the baby wipe. Baby wipe on top, handprint, voila. This one here was banana cream as the base, and then is it cinnamon drop? Yeah, cinnamon drop, red paint, splashes. Actually, this was with the Aquaflow. Where's the flow brush? And then I got some texture in there, so we got some texture in here. So this is kind of a two for one. So you got one technique with just the water resist, and then the paper towel as it lifts off even more. Okay. If you don't like the texture of the paper towel, you can get a paper towel with a very minimal texture. This is with the Glamour Dust. It's with lemon drop as the base and emerald on top with the water resist. It didn't quite turn out, the contrast wasn't strong enough. That's because the Glamour Dust is really transparent. It's still beautiful though. I can think of a magical, mystical theme on this one. And this one here, I wasn't sure if it would work at all. So this is the Multi-Surface Satins, Chartreuse as the base, and Turf Green on top. And I really laid down the paper towel vertically to get the nice texture in there. It turned out amazing, totally amazing. If this was done in blues and whites, can you imagine? This would be like a fantasy space theme. And then on the bottom, the paper towel was here. Then I put paper towel here. I had a line where the paper towel overlapped, and just took a baby wipe and just kind of patted it, and that kind of softened that line a little bit. So there we go, 4 backgrounds. Pretty cool, eh? The background on this one transferred over to here. It's no big deal. It's not going to bother me at all. Okay? And if it does bug you, tear the page out or to cut the page out, then trim it down to use it in another journal or expanding journal, whichever way you want. Okay, so I hope that you enjoyed these backgrounds and give them a shot. And yeah, I can see something happening on this one. I already have an idea what I want to do on this one, but that's a few days away. All right, so give this a shot, and until next time, stay inspired.